How I went from a bunch of friends to almost none in a few years, but actually I'm okay with it. So in February 2023, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm going to try to be quick with this. And I texted about 30 of my friends. Now, 30 might sound like a lot, right? But if you went to college and you went to grad school and you're a filmmaker and you're a modern dancer in the dance community in New York and your sisters have friends that are your friends and all of that. Yes, I texted about 30 people because I thought, okay, if I text this many people, then they'll be checking in on me and there'll be enough folks that if anything happens, they will keep tabs. Now, I do have a family, right? And I have older siblings, but I realized all of this since the diagnosis is that I'm in a low effort family, meaning my family didn't show up in the way that I thought that they would that year. So I actually needed my friends to kind of pick up the slack. Long story short, very few of the 30 people I texted I mean, some of them texted back, but they honestly didn't. I think most people were like, oh, let me just give her space. And then they just disappeared. So then in April, I put a post just after my lumpectomy. I put a post up on my wall about the experience I was going through because I thought maybe instead of texting individuals, I can just put something on Facebook. Everyone will see it. I also included a link to my PayPal in case people wanted to support my treatment costs and things like that. And a couple of people did. And then one of my then good friends also gathered a few people together to contribute some money for my medical treatment. Then another set of friends put a bit of money together to get me a seamless gift card. It wasn't like that much. Obviously, I live in New York, so it's an expensive place just to live. And I had to keep working and things like that, even though I couldn't work that much because I was sick. So I had a lot of costs. Like it's not just the medical trauma, it's the financial trauma as well. And so the support was helpful, but long story short, none of my friends, not one single friend stopped by to visit that whole year. And I remember talking to my therapist at the time because she was like, I know you have to put your head down and kind of like go to treatment and get through this year, but there's going to have to be a reckoning for the fact that none of your friends really showed up. And yeah, I put it on ice to get through the year. And then I ended up in December of 2023 of that same year going temporarily no contact with my dad because I finally kind of got fed up with some of the abuse and the issues in my family. Fast forward to September of 2024, and I went permanently no contact with my dad. I sent a letter to my sisters, my older sisters, and then I also forwarded that letter to some of the friends that I still considered close friends, even though they hadn't really stopped by. And it was interesting because it felt like deja vu because some of them called to check in, but more so, and it was probably like 5 or 6 people, more so they didn't respond to it with any urgency. And I was like thinking to myself, like face palm, this is the same way they responded to your cancer diagnosis. Like, why did you think they were going to treat it like an emergency? Because obviously if you've been fighting through cancer treatment, it's really devastating. And then to essentially have to lose a parent, which ended up being also going low contact with my sisters as well. That's a double emergency, but nobody responded in that way. And so I actually had started writing people's names down in a notebook because I was like, I think I need to start keeping track of how my friends make me feel because maybe they're not actually good friends. And these have been situational relationships due to like proximity of going to the same college or the same grad school or living in New York City. And maybe they're not actually my real people. So come December 2024, when I had more energy, there was an event happening at the Met. I'm friends with a publicist who was helping publicize the event. And she said, you can bring 15 friends. And I was like, oh my God, where am I going to get 15 people? Folks haven't been showing up for me. But I found 15 friends, some from, like I'm in a Nigerian women's social group. There were some girls at the gym that after class, we would sometimes go get drinks next door. So I had a few people to invite and I did. And I noticed something. And again, I wrote it down in my notebook. The gym girlies really didn't respond. Like one of them said she was going to come and then she flaked and didn't say she was not going to make it. The Nigerian women's group, there was a couple of them who came. They used my name to get into the Met. They walked around the entire exhibit and left and never even told me they were there and never came to even say what's up. I had another friend who came to the event, used my name, got in, walked around the event, texted me to say she was there, but then texted me to say she was leaving and didn't try to come find me. And then there was only like a couple of the friends in the 15. Oh, well, there's a couple of no call, no shows, which I noted. And then there was a couple of people who came, found me, and actually spent time with me. And I wrote them down like as a yes. So I had like yes, no, maybe by people's names because I was like, oh, I think this is turning into an informal experiment about how people actually treat me. So then fast forward to 2025. And it was my birthday, and I decided I'm not going to invite a whole bunch of people. And I hadn't celebrated in a couple of years because I'd been sick. And I was like, let me just invite 6 or 7 close friends. And 2 of them flaked. Like, one of them texted me at the time it was starting, how long are you going to be there? Which basically means I'm not coming. And then when I finally saw the message, because I'd been busy entertaining people, she was like, oh, I'm doing laundry now. And then another friend who I've known over 20 years, she called me when she was meant to be heading to the event and said she had to show an apartment because she's a realtor and she had to go to church. So she basically just, I don't know, triple booked. And because both of those 2 people were on a maybe list, I decided I don't think I want to be close friends with them anymore. They kind of treat me as disposable. And the one who was doing laundry, she had actually disappeared for the entirety of the year I was in treatment. She never checked in with me. I literally went to her birthday party the day before my lumpectomy. She really did not check in with me. She never stopped by to visit. She disappeared completely for like the whole year and then popped up again and was like, you're not responding to my messages. What did I do wrong? And then we had to have a clarifying conversation where she like apologized and said, oh, I'm going to show up and do better. Well, then she ended up flaking again on my birthday. And I was like, I think we're not in a reciprocal relationship and I don't like how this feels. So my birthday was in October 2025. By December, I lost 2 more friends. I'm not even going to get into it because I don't have time in the video. So by the time I rolled around to this year in May, I flew to Venice because a friend of mine who's an artist was in a show, Venice Biennale. And I went there to support her. Like, I didn't even sleep. I was helping her do social media. I was like doing all this stuff. And then at the end of the trip, when I was packing to go, she tells me that my dad had called her, my dad, whom I'm no contact with. She's one of the friends I had shared the no contact letter with in advance. And she was essentially still talking to him. And so I gave her a hug, goodbye, and I came back to New York. And then I sent her a voice note and said, I'm really uncomfortable that you violated my trust in this way. And I decided I don't want to take a break from the friendship. So I do have a handful of friends left. And what I think I would say about the friends that I have left, even though it's really, really dwindling, is that it's important to me that they really value me and they treat me with honesty and integrity. They show up and they're supportive. And there's an aspect of it that I understand now has to be really, really intentional. Like, we have to have a commitment about how we're engaging, how we're meeting up with each other, how we're holding each other's needs in each other's hearts as friends. And I do understand that this is probably something that I didn't have going on with the friendships I made in the past. And also it's okay when you discover that you have a values mismatch with friends or so-called friends that you decide you don't want to be friends with them anymore. You certainly aren't required to stick around and be friends with people who treat you like crap repeatedly or never show up or never really reciprocate or basically like wait for you to do things for them, show up for them. But then when it's your turn, they really don't really show up for you. And I'm also making peace with not having so many friends because now I really do see my energy as really valuable. And so people must demonstrate that they are at the level that I am at in terms of value for them to actually be my friend. I would say, like, to borrow from the Bible verse, it's probably easier to pass a camel through the eye of a needle than to become my friend at this point. And this represents a tremendous shift from 2023 to now because I was really, really sad. I mean, I really just wanted a hug, and it was really sad to me that nobody would even show up for that. And I will note this too, that I had posted on my LinkedIn that nobody was even sending me greeting cards, and a really distant friend that I only knew as sort of a colleague who had gone to my grad film school saw my post, and she actually started sending me cards. And we've actually become pen pals over the past few years. And I actually got a chance to meet up with her when I went to Venice because she was going to the Biennale as well. So this is also a message like to keep your heart and your mind open to discovering friends in unlikely places, even if the people that you know that you think should show up to love and care for you don't do it.